This person said they no longer loved you. You heard it, in the coldest way possible. No trembling in their voice, no hesitation. But something felt off. Something didn't quite fit with their tone or their gaze. It was the exact moment you turned your back. The instant you decided not to respond, not to push, not to beg, just to leave. That's when the lie became obvious. Because this person, they couldn't stand to see you walk away. They thought you wouldn't have the courage, that even when hurt you would stay. But you didn't. You left. And with that, you left this person alone with what they said, and with what they felt, but didn't have the courage to admit. This person trembled inside, swallowed their own pain, tried to hide the emptiness with silence. But the body doesn't lie. Their chest tightened, the air grew heavy, the ground seemed less solid, because this person didn't expect your strength. They expected submission, they expected tears, they expected everything except for your absence, and now they live with that, with the weight of what was said and the absence of who walked away. This person remembers your footsteps, remembers the last time they saw you, relives that moment more than they'd like to admit, because when you closed the door, something opened up inside of the one who stayed, a silent pain, a nameless despair, a regret they try to hide. You notice it. In the gaze that avoids yours, in the uncomfortable posture, in the attempt to seem okay while everything inside is crumbling. This person might still keep saying they don't love you anymore, but the body, the longing, the signs, have already contradicted everything. You know, you felt it, you left him, and this person has never been whole since. If this touched you, comment. I needed to hear this. And answer honestly, what hurts more? Hearing that love is over, or realizing that the person feels, but lets you go anyway? You still remember how it was said. The words flowed easily, as if nothing else remained there, as if the feeling had vanished without a trace. I don't love you anymore. Cold, direct, without hesitation. But that's not all this person said. It was also what they didn't say. It was the way they couldn't look you in the eye afterward, how they averted their gaze, how they pretended to be calm, but they weren't. It was the silence after the statement, as if they expected some predictable reaction, as if they were ready to see you beg, plead, stay. But you didn't stay. You just took a deep breath, swallowed the lump in your throat, and chose to leave. That was the moment, the break, the crack that made everything crumble, because this person, deep down, didn't expect this. They expected resistance, not dignity. They expected despair, not presence. They expected attachment, not self-love. And when they realized you weren't there to compete over pride, when they saw you simply turn your back, it was in that instant that the truth surfaced. The statement said with coldness was swallowed by pain that came without warning. And you noticed, not because of what this person said, but by what the body did uncontrollably. The breath faltered, the gaze dropped, the hand clenched instinctively. The silence became revelation, because this person couldn't bear to watch you leave. And that's where everything flips. It's no longer about what was said, it's about what was felt. Because anyone who says they don't love you but suffers at the sight of you walking away has already given everything. Do you see that? It's in the act of leaving that hidden love reveals itself. It's in the sound of your absence that this person hears what they denied. Because while you were there, still present, still trying, it was easy to deny, easy to pretend, easy to hide. But you stepping off the stage was the end of the mask. This person crumbled inside, and there was no way to disguise it. The body begged, but the mouth went silent. The courage to lie was greater than the courage to love, and now everything weighs heavily. You feel it in the air when you see this person from a distance. In that brief second when your eyes meet unintentionally, there's fear there, there's regret, there's longing, but there's also shame. Shame for having let you go, for choosing the more comfortable lie, for maintaining a facade of distance that wasn't genuine. This person keeps telling themselves they did the right thing, but they can't sleep in peace. They relive the moment of your departure in silence. They feel your absence in the places that once held you. They search for excuses to see you again, even if it's just from afar. And maybe you will never hear this from their lips. But what this person feels is in every unspoken gesture. It's noticeable. In the way they avoid saying your name in conversations, in the way they watch you with their eyes as you pass by, in the frustrating attempt to erase you from their memory. and the daily failure of that attempt. This person is trapped in something they chose to deny. And you are free. You broke free. You believed in the phrase, and that's why you left. Even with pain, even with longing, even without understanding everything. You didn't stay where you were, no longer welcome. And that's what this person can't accept. It wasn't your absence. It was your decision. The fact that you managed to leave even while being loved, even while being denied. This person thought you wouldn't know how to leave, but you did. And when they realized they lost you, it was already too late. Now nothing this person does can turn back time. Nothing can undo what was said. Nothing can erase the silence left after your departure. That's what hurts. You didn't slam the door. You didn't create a scene. You didn't shout. You just left, calmly, with dignity, with the pain hidden on your back so it wouldn't be used against you. And this person that has never recovered from that. Have you noticed how they avoid you, but can't stop looking? Have you seen how they've unfollowed you on social media, but secretly check your profile? How they pretend to have moved on, but are always close to your footsteps? This isn't hate. It's not anger. It's denied longing. It's unacknowledged love. It's pride overcoming, say, what's left of the truth. This person suffers, but doesn't say it. Because to say it, they would have to admit their mistake. They would have to turn back. She would have to let go of the stance she chose to maintain. And she can't do that, so she'd rather lose you than ask for forgiveness. And now this person carries silence as punishment, memory as a thorn, and pride as shackles. Meanwhile, you are rebuilding yourself. You do feel, yes, but you feel honestly. You are living the morning, but you no longer live in the place that rejected you. And that is your strength. You didn't run from the pain. You didn't beg for love. You believed in the words they said, even if they were false. And because of that, you walked away with courage, with self-love, with dignity. And this person can't stand that, because deep down, what she feels hasn't ended. It's just buried under pride, fear, and cowardice. Have you ever experienced something similar? Tell me in the comments. What was the moment you realized that love still existed, even after being denied? If this resonated with you, comment, "I needed to hear this," and share it with someone who needs to see what they're still trying to hide. But this realization is not the end. Something deeper is coming right after. This conversation doesn't end here. Because no matter how much this person's mouth said it was over, the body, the silence, the glances, and the gestures continue to say otherwise. You noticed it. In her first attempt to seem indifferent. In the second time, your paths crossed and her gaze faltered. In the third time, she posted something just to get your attention without mentioning your name. It's all there, hidden, disorganized, unresolved, but it exists. Because when feelings are buried alive, they don't die, they writhe, and they show up in the most unexpected places. The way this person changes tone when someone mentions you, the way she avoids talking about the past, but sinks into memories when she's alone. Your absence has become a mirror, a reflection of what was said, and of what was not felt with courage. Because the truth is, this person couldn't bear to see you leave because they weren't ready to lose something they never even learned to value when they had it. And that's the pain that leaves the deepest mark. It's not the absence, it's the regret, it's not the emptiness. It's the certainty that love was there, and it was overlooked. Do you feel that in the air? Because this person is still connected to you, even without talking, even without touching, even pretending to be far away. Energy doesn't lie. The bond doesn't fade with words. It doesn't disappear with calculated silences. And no matter how hard they try to convince themselves that the decision was right, everything about them contradicts that. This person looks for signs of you in other people, but no one can replace you. Because what was between you can't be repeated. It can't be copied. It was unique. And that's why it's so unbearable to lose. Sometimes this person thinks about reaching out to you. You feel that. You know, there are days they almost send a message, but their finger hesitates. Fear wins, and pride suffocates. The desire is there, throbbing, clear, but it never comes alone. It comes with the memory of their words, with the weight of what was said, with the risk of admitting they were wrong, and admitting that would require a movement they never learned to make, to surrender. Not in the sense of humiliating oneself, but in the sense of acknowledging the truth they tried to deny. Do you understand that now? Because those who love, but say they don't, live caught between two abysses, the need to maintain the lie and the desperation to want to return. This person is there, between those two extremes, and every time they remember how you left, in silence but with firmness, their heart aches just a little more, because maybe this person thought you wouldn't have the strength. They thought your love was dependence. They thought you would come back, that you couldn't bear the separation. But the one who couldn't bear it was them. You, even with a torn heart, went. You went with the pain. You went with the emptiness. But you went, and that courage is what troubles them, what challenges them, what exposes the cowardice of someone who said what they didn't feel to avoid dealing with what was truly pulsating inside. How many times has this person mentally rehearsed what they would say if they saw you right now? Maybe something like, "I didn't know what I was feeling. I was confused. I needed space." It was out of fear. And deep down, all of this might actually be true, but it doesn't erase the impact of what was said, nor does it fix what was broken. Have you ever been on the other side of that weight? Have you ever felt the urge to hear an apology and still chose to move on? If so, comment, "I know what that's like," or write what you would say today and if that person finally had the courage to reach out to you. But would they? This person is driven by impulses, but also by hesitations. They think a lot, they feel too much, and they act little. They have too much pride to apologize, but too much longing to disconnect from you. They linger there, in limbo, between the desire to disappear and the unbearable urge to call your name just one more time. But you can't live waiting for a return that may never come. You didn't leave to be followed. You left because you needed to save yourself. And maybe, just maybe, this is the greatest declaration of love someone can make to themselves. Do you feel that deep in your chest? That moment when, even while loving, you choose to go because staying no longer felt like you. This person realized what they lost, but only after you were already gone. And now they live in this inverted mirror, where everything they feel is a reflection of what you once lived. You cried while this person pretended to be at peace. Now they bleed, while you learn to breathe again. Life gives back, but it gives back late. And those who don't notice in time end up spending the rest of their days wishing they could go back to a place that no longer exists. Do you feel that this person still thinks of you? Comment, "I feel it." There's a turn that hasn't happened yet, and that turn isn't about an apology. It's not about going back. It's not about recovering what was lost. It's about the brutal awareness, the exact moment when that person truly realizes, not just thinks, not just suspects, but realizes irreversibly that you are no longer available, not emotionally, not energetically, not spiritually. Your presence has vanished, not just from the space but from the frequency. And that is the turning point that tears apart, because until now, deep down, that person was still nourished by the illusion that you could come back, that it was just about saying the right words, making the right gesture, showing remorse, and you would reappear. But the realization, it comes all of a sudden. It doesn't come with a warning. It doesn't ask for permission. Sometimes it comes during a conversation with someone, or in one of your stories that shows up by chance, or in a random encounter where your gaze shows no trace of waiting anymore. Your indifference becomes a verdict. It's then that this person understands what they did, understands what they lost, and worse, understands that now it's too late, not too late in time, but too late in connection, because the bond has broken, not with screams, but with your real absence. You've left from within. This person couldn't stand watching you leave, but now they must endure what comes next, the complete absence of you, not just your body, but your energy, your affection, the space you occupied without occupying, and no regret can heal that. Because there's a type of loss that's no longer about starting over. It's about accepting that the end happened, even with love still alive. And this person will need to live with that, with the weight of their own choice, with the echo of their own words, with the bitter taste of having said something untrue, just to protect a pride that now serves no purpose. Meanwhile, you keep breathing. With scars, yes, but with peace, with the clarity of someone who chose not to beg anymore. You no longer need to prove that it was love. You no longer need to explain yourself. What you did was walk away and let the truth reveal itself on its own. And it revealed itself in the gestures of that person, in the lack of structure, in the restless gaze, in the contradictory behavior, in the attempt to forget you, bumping into you everywhere. This person says they've moved on, but lives to prove it. And anyone who constantly tries to prove they've moved on is more trapped than ever. It's an emotional prison, created by their own denial, fueled by the fear of admitting how they feel. Recognizing that love isn't always beautiful, it isn't always clear, but denying what you feel slowly kills. Have you ever felt this in someone? The attempt to appear okay when everything in their eyes reveals the opposite. Comment, "I've seen that look before." Or if you prefer, just drop it down below to show that you've also silently noticed this. Now, one thing needs to be said, calmly but without softness. What this person feels still exists, but it's not with you that they will experience it anymore, and that's the cruelest sentence, because love doesn't die, but transforms into a ghost when it's not lived with courage. And this person will be haunted by what they lacked the courage to maintain, haunted by the memories that linger, by the conversations that were left unfinished, by the nights when the pillow becomes a mirror to their conscience. You became a living memory, an absent presence, a pain that remains unresolved. And even if this person tries to move on with others, nothing fits, because no one can fill the space of what was real. No one can silence what still pulses. You were. And no matter how much this person says otherwise, it was there that everything shattered, because now they live with the version of themselves that had you and didn't know how to hold on, that had you completely and traded it for control, ego, and fear. And that is going to hurt for a long time. Have you been on the other side of this? Realizing that someone lost you and understood too late? Right here. I left and only later did they understand. Share, in your own words, what this story reminded you of. If it moved you, like it, comment with your thoughts on the topic, share it, and subscribe to the channel.